Let me engage your imagination this morning. Go back with me some 195 years to May 16th, 1829. You'd be sitting at one end of the 4-acre village green of the village of South Merrimack. We would have just completed a service of music and prayer on the green, and to our right, men would have begun raising hand-hewn timbers to start framing a new church building or a meeting house. The group of believers who set out to do this had their roots during the Second Great Awakening here in the United States. That meeting house, what we now call the chapel, was dedicated on October 7th, 1829. And the chapel has seen a lot of history over its years. In 1858, it was struck by lightning that traveled into the building, destroying the floor in front of the pulpit and shattering several pews on the side of the chapel that's closest to the current playground. The chapel stood during the Civil War, including the Battle of Gettysburg in 1863. It turned 100 years old the same year of the stock market crash of 1929. The chapel stood during the D-Day invasion of Normandy during World War II in June of 1944. And it has seen a post office, a store, and even a gas station all come and go around that green, what we now call the Point, right out here. And the chapel saw the congregational church that met there ebb and flow from multiple members to just a few. The chapel has seen a lot of history, but the chapel has been a foundational part of our church's history. In 1982, Pastor Larry Klaus and his family moved from Michigan and planted Merrimack Valley Baptist Church. They first met in Hudson, then moved to Nashua. And as the church continued to grow, Pastor Larry inquired about the congregational church building here on Boston Post Road. MVBC began renting the chapel in 1990 and eventually purchased it and made it our church's home. The chapel has been through a lot with us. I remember Pastor Larry telling the story about how they determined they needed to put in a basement, a fellowship hall. And he said that, engineers told him it couldn't be done. He still did it. The church jacked it up and dug out the basement. What you go down to, when you go downstairs right now, what we call the fellowship hall or the cafeteria for the school. The chapel has seen MVBC have 3 morning services every Sunday in that room. Talk about packed and without air conditioning. The chapel has seen the multi-purpose room built in 2001. That's where we sit now. It has seen the children's wing built where the nursery and elementary classrooms are. That was 2008. The chapel has seen so much history, and it has been home to so much of MVBC's history. Consider, in 5 short years, the chapel will turn 200 years old. Let's see how you and I are doing at 200. Because of that history, the chapel now needs some extra care. Last year, you may recall that we needed to reinforce the bell tower and the roof framing. Remember those hand-hewn timbers from 195 years ago? This year, we need to address the cracking paint on the exterior. I'm sure you've noticed it as it continues to get worse. Well, now safety has become a concern because those base layers of paint are lead. The degradation is reaching a point where the lead paint needs to be removed and not just covered over. So our facilities department has been getting quotes, and they received a quote from a company called Renovation. You may have heard of them. Renovation can come in and remove the lead paint with a chemical process that keeps it from turning into dust. Then they will apply the Rhino Shield coating, which is a ceramic coating. It's not just typical paint, and it comes with a 25-year guarantee. As you can see, the cost for that project is $65,000, And that includes a significant discount because we were willing to be flexible with when we scheduled them. All the other quotes that we had received for this same project were around $100,000. And that would have just been typical paint. So this morning I wanted to come and present to you how you can help care for the chapel. $65,000 is not a small amount of money. So this morning we are going to launch a special giving emphasis to help raise the funds needed for this project. Our goal for this emphasis is $50,000. Now, yes, the project is $65,000, but we wanted to set a goal that was stretching for us, but also reachable. And if God puts it on your heart and we give and we go past that, as our church typically does, we'll let God do that, and we'll cover it. Now, we do have the building fund to cover any costs that aren't raised, but we want to be careful with that so that we have the building fund available for emergencies, other unforeseen repairs that may come along. That's why we want to have this giving emphasis. We'll be having this emphasis over the next several months, so we'll give you updates along the way. And the week after Kids Week is next week, the following week, you'll see work start to begin on the exterior of the chapel. So let me ask you to please be praying for this project, and if God might have you give toward it. You can place gifts in the offering plate, just label them Chapel Renovation Fund, or you can also give online at the church's website. Just choose the option Chapel Renovation Fund. As a church, we want to care for and preserve this very special building. The gospel has been preached there. People have been saved, baptized in our church's history and throughout history. The chapel has seen a lot of South Merrimack history. It has seen a lot of world history, and it has been home to our church's history for most of our church's existence. Will you help care for this very special building as the Lord leads you and lays it upon your heart? Thank you.